Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to TrepTalks. This is the show where I interview successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today I'm really excited to welcome Krish Himmatramka to the show. Krish is the founder of Do Amore. Do Amore is a ethical engagement and wedding rings retailer that helps people in need. And they also hold the title of the most ethical, world's most. Sorry, I think I'll have to restart on this
Yeah,
one.
I know it's like some
Sorry.
long word. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
can we? So I was trying to find your company description. It says ethical engagement and wedding rings that help people in need. And we
yeah.
hold the title of the most ethical rings.
Engaging company in the world.
Ethical engagement ring. Okay,
Yeah,
let me get this right. Engagement rings.
yeah,
I
yeah, no
know I had
worries.
copy pasted. Maybe I somehow missed that. Ethical engagement rings in the world. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, let me start. Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to Trip Talks. This is the show where I interview successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story, and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today, I'm really excited to welcome Krish Himmatramka to the show. Krish is the founder of Do Amore. Do Amore offers ethical engagement and wedding rings that help people in need, and they also hold the title of world's most ethical engagement rings in the world. And today I'm going to ask Krish a few questions about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategies and tactics that he has used to start and grow his business. So, Krish, thank you so much for joining me today at Trip Talks. Really, really appreciate your time.
Hey, Sushant, thanks so much. It's great to be here. Excited to chat.
So, I was watching your Shark Tank pitch,
Mhm.
and I know you kind of disclosed your numbers there. So your business is definitely um, quite successful, I would say. I mean, not many businesses kind of reach 10, 15 million kind of range.
Mhm.
So can you share a little bit about yourself? And I believe in the Shark Tank pitch, you said you got started with $18,000 or something.
Yeah,
So can you talk a little bit about your story and what really motivated you to start this business?
yeah, for sure. So, I'm an engineer by background, and in my first job out of college, as a mechanical engineer, I joined an oil and gas company, and I was transferred to the middle of nowhere, to
In the
drill oil
US
in
or
the U.S. in
okay.
Louisiana, about an hour and a half from from any like nearby city, where we're drilling oil and gas wells, and very quickly um I like learned that it's really hard to drill for oil. Like we would drill for weeks and weeks and weeks to get to oil, but we would hit water within just a few minutes of drilling. And then we went to another well and same thing, and then another well. And I was just really shocked. Like I never really understood like water is literally right there
Hmm.
underneath, all of us where we walk every day. That I was just shocked that people are dying in, developing countries from not having clean water when the water is literally just beneath where they're walking every day. They just don't know how to get to it. So I thought, I want to do something to help these people. And I didn't really know how. I didn't really know what to do. So around the same time, I was also looking for an engagement ring for my now wife. And anytime I was looking for a ring and I would talk to these different stores, I would ask questions about sourcing and ethics, and every single store told me the exact same scripted answer. Literally, probably talked to 8 or 9 different stores. Every single one told me the same two-sentence answer, which is just the scripted answer that people in the jewelry industry say. And I still see that scripted answer even today when I talk to folks. So I was just really shocked. Like, people were creating their ethics policies out of fear, not
Hmm.
really out of true desire to make things ethical. So I thought, when I propose, I want to do it with a ring that I know doesn't hurt the world.
Hmm.
And I thought, but what if it could actually help the world? And so
Hmm.
that's what I did. I wanted to propose with a ring that helped the world instead of hurt the world. So I proposed with an engagement ring made of recycled gold. I got a conflict-free diamond from the country of Botswana. Everything about it was as ethically made as possible. And then on top of that, the day I proposed, we brought clean water to people in Haiti. And it just felt like so special, like this life-changing moment is going to help change another life forever. And that was, that's how Do Amore started, where we make engagement rings and wedding rings that allow couples to change a life forever on their own special day.
And I mean, it seems like you, because your focus was so much on ethics and social
Mhm.
responsibility, it does seem to me if you're sourcing materials or, stones and recycled metals and so forth,
Mhm.
I mean, what kind of planning and work involved in terms of, getting started
Yeah.
to launch this business? Like, did you create a business plan? Did you think it through? What kind of research
Yeah.
went into this process?
I would say it was well researched, but also like a lot of work in tandem. So, while I was still like, didn't know anything about engagement rings or diamonds yet, I was already starting to design the website because I was so excited about this.
Hmm.
I was already designing the website already, kind of like just designing the business model and also at the same time trying to learn everything about the industry. You alluded to it in the beginning. So I had saved up about $18,000 at the time. And I just decided, you know what, like I'm just gonna put all $18,000 into a bank account
Hmm.
and start this company. And of course, I knew I was gonna have to put more money in at some point or raise capital or something. But that $18,000 is still the only investment we had ever made. When we pitched on Shark Tank, that was the first time we ever tried to raise money. Up till then, like $18,000 is still the only money ever invested into the company to start. And so all of our sales have come from that 18K only. Um, and I think that that was super helpful, like getting started. Because I think if we just kept planning and planning and planning, we would have eaten through that $18,000 very quickly.
Hmm.
Instead, it was kind of just like, I was planning, but I was also doing. And I think that's so important because I actually think if I hadn't done that, I don't think Do Amore would have ever became a company. Because I think I would have seen like how complicated this industry is
Hmm.
and how crazy it is, and the planning just wasn't working. And I feel like I would have probably not done it. But because I had already started it, and I was already launching a website while learning everything, um, it was just kind of up there,
Hmm.
like I had to just keep going. So I'm very appreciative that I didn't overplan and I started working on it and just started, you know, really getting into the roots of it from the start.
So in terms of your business model, so you're sourcing stones from different places that are, you've ensured that are ethically sourced and
Mhm.
socially responsible. You're getting metals from different places. And um, are you putting it together yourself? Like, are you working with some sort of a shop that is
Yeah,
putting it
yeah.
together? Who's creating the designs? So can you talk
Yeah,
through the process of your kind of how does your business bring value
sure.
to the product?
Yeah, for sure. So we work with like some of the best, for example, with this type of purchase, like an engagement ring, quality was really key.
Hmm.
We wanted our product not just to be ethical and beautiful and also, make this amazing impact. We wanted it to, really be one of the best products out there. Like I always kind of around the time, like people didn't really know about Tesla much when I was starting Do Amore, but like at the time, like I knew about it as an engineer, and it just kind of always stood with me. Like, they're trying to make a totally different model, a totally different business model, and they were trying to make the best cars out there, the fastest cars out there, and I think that was kind of like inspirational to me. Like I wanted to make the best rings, the best, most beautiful rings that helped the world, rings that were, not making a negative impact on the world. And on top of that, they were also the highest quality. Like all of that was very important to me. So yeah, so we work with some of the best manufacturing jewelry manufacturers all around the country. And what we bring to it is we require certain metals. We require the gold be recycled. We require, that the diamonds that we source, like we're very strict about that. And of course, when I started Do Amore, lab diamonds were like a very new thing at the time. And now lab created diamonds have really started to take over the market, which is amazing. We were one of the first companies that were embracing lab diamonds and really, talking about lab diamonds and how great they were. And
Hmm.
at the time, like most engagement companies were kind of bashing lab diamonds, and now all of those companies, of course, are like talking about lab diamonds in all of their ads because they know it's the future now, right? So
Mm.
we kind of embraced it from the start, which was really cool. So I think we kind of had a head start by, being ahead there.
I have thought about lab diamonds
Hmm.
a little bit just from a consumer perspective. Not. I
Sure.
mean, I don't know how they're created and everything, but
Yeah.
when I think about like from a consumer perspective, the reason why a diamond is so expensive is because it's considered a rare stone,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Now there may be some controversy there because
Yeah.
I think a lot of the companies that mine diamonds they kind of you know
Keep the
uh,
supply. Yeah.
keep the supply low and
Yeah.
have the and then when I think about like a lab-based or lab-grown diamond, what makes it? Why is it expensive at all? Like you,
Yeah.
you basically, if you have the right processor and right machines, you can create
Yeah.
as many stones as possible.
Yeah, for sure. A great question. So when I started doing Amore, lab diamonds at the time were almost the same cost as natural diamonds because that's just how it was. Like there weren't that many there was not much lab diamond supply. And about, a year or two in, it was about 10-20% cheaper. And now we're talking about lab diamonds being 80% cheaper than natural diamonds, right?
Mm,
Significantly. Um, but I think we've kind of hit this point now where I don't I'm of course, making like an educated guess here. I don't think we can get much cheaper than we are now with lab diamonds because
mm,
the thing is like, even though of course, diamond is carbon at the end of the day, nothing like
mm,
crazy expensive, right? It's just the crystal structure of how it's arranged. And I don't think that even like creating lab created diamonds, it takes time. It doesn't happen over a few minutes or a few hours. It can take months and months.
mm,
And there's a lot of energy use at the time. So there's two processes: high pressure, high temperature,
mm,
or chemical vapor deposition. And those two processes, they're very time consuming, they're energy consuming. So like when you start to think about all of the time that's going into it, all of the energy that's going into it and costs
mm.
associated, I don't think they can get much cheaper than they are now, personally.
Okay.
I think we've hit that. Now, of course, with our lab diamonds, because they're energy intense, like we really cared about making sure that our suppliers were actually switching or using renewable energy. So a lot of our suppliers are using solar energy, hydro energy, different, renewable energies. And that, of course, helps with the cost a little bit. Of course, there's a big upfront investment, but then once you have solar energy, it's not. But I just think the time commitment is going to make it tough. It's kind of like, if you sell trees and you sell flowers, selling flowers that grow within a few days, those flowers will be cheap. But those trees that take 6 months to grow, those are going to be more expensive. And I think lab created diamonds kind of are a little bit more like those trees that take a little bit of time to grow. And when you're trying to grow a tree, you're having to give it more water, you're having to give it more fertilizer, you're having to do more things which add up the cost. So
Mm.
that's why I don't think lab diamonds can get too much cheaper than they are now.
I do want to ask you about your
Yeah.
customers. I mean, I think a lot of people who buy diamonds, I think there's a special meaning behind it because diamonds are considered more expensive. And so,
Mm,
if somebody is
sure. Of
gifting their, let's say, girlfriend or fiance
course.
a
Yeah.
diamond in a ring
Yeah.
format, like it's this that, I'm making a commitment to you because it's
Yeah.
a monetary commitment
100%.
as well.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
has, I mean, is the culture of, giving diamonds to your significant other or, um, are you seeing like this trend kind of continuing to increase? Like, do you see this growing more and more, or do you think there is a shift away? Because I think also consumers nowadays are becoming more and more, socially conscious,
Yeah.
eco-conscious, and things like that. And
Sure.
like, are you seeing a shift away from like, diamond giving towards like, some
Sure.
more sustainable items and so forth?
Sure. I would say yes, there is a shift for sure, but I think there's brands like ours and others that are there now that are satisfying that need. So I feel like if every brand and every, engagement company out there was where we were in the world 20 years ago, I think engagement sales would be way down. But
Mm,
because because everyone has kind of shifted with the times, I think that's why they still are in demand. Um, and also about the cost part, like even though lab created diamonds are cheaper, they're still like expensive. Like it's still not like cheap, right? It's still a relatively expensive purchase. Even now, um, when people are buying an engagement ring, it's still one of the most expensive things that they've ever bought up till that point in their life. So it's
Hmm.
still expensive. Also, what we're seeing is instead of people just, taking a like slashing their budget because now with the lab diamond they can get away with less. Instead, people are kind of spending the same amount they would have. They're just getting larger diamonds. So that average order price isn't really shifting down that much. People are just getting nicer, higher quality, bigger diamonds instead.
Is there a resale value to lab-grown diamonds?
It's a good question. I think that it's kind of I think like we're at a point, again, this is all my own educated guess. I think we're at a point now where it's just with the energy use and everything that goes into a diamond. I don't think that diamonds can decrease much more in price. So
Hmm.
I have a feeling that there will be like this balance now. Um, at the same time, I kind of like to think of it like this because we also do sell natural diamonds. When we sell a natural diamond, we only source it from countries that we feel strongly about. So such as Canada, Botswana, those are two countries where we embrace diamonds from. Um, what I would kind of say is that if someone really is looking at the engagement ring as a purchase, like, you know what, I want to make sure in 50 years or 20 years, whatever it is, that engagement ring has the same value or has appreciated, then because we have decades and decades of pricing history, I think the natural diamond makes more sense.
Hmm.
But if you're really just trying to get something that looks beautiful and gorgeous, and you're not really thinking like, what's the price of this going to be in 30, 40, 50 years, then I think lab diamonds make sense. And the other thing too is like, what I kind of like to say is and this is my own industry and I'm going to say this, but I don't necessarily think natural diamonds are like the best investment in the world. So
Hmm.
what I would advise if you care about that is maybe buy a lab diamond, save money and invest that extra money you're saving in something else. And I think you'll come out more ahead than buying a natural diamond and seeing if that appreciates over time. So that's what I
Hmm.
kind of personally think I would do at this point is save money, buy a lab created diamond, invest that extra savings in something that'll perform better than a natural diamond would over the next 2, 3 decades.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So you started out with $18,000, and
Mhm.
of course, if you are even buying, I mean, what can you buy to sell
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
18,000? So how did you get like, did you start off with like, just a few kind of rings,
Yeah.
and
Great
how did you
question.
get your like first customer?
Sure. So we started off with wedding rings, actually, not engagement rings. So just wedding bands, right? Which is more just like simple pieces of, rounded gold, right?
Hmm.
Gold that's been made into a round shape. So those are obviously a little bit less expensive than an engagement ring. A lot of the money initially went into like, website development and getting some samples and photography and things like that. And then we put, once we had a supplier that was going to use recycled gold, we put up some wedding rings. And early on, I didn't have money for advertising, obviously. So it was really just like, what can I actually control? And at the time, I was like, okay, there's two things I can control. I can control search engine optimization. So I really focused on search engine optimization and making sure that we were, targeting proper keywords for customers that will look for us, ethical engagement rings, conflict-free wedding bands, like those types of keywords.
Hmm.
So I really focused on that. And then the second thing I could kind of control was just making sure that whatever we did, we were like very, very just gave customers the best customer service ever. Like
Hmm.
when customers called us or talked to me or emailed me, they should feel like, wow, like I've never had a customer service experience like that. Those are the two things I could control. So the very first customer ever, I still remember a customer called our phone number, which forwarded to my cell phone, of course, and just had some questions about wedding rings, and I answered them. And then I
Hmm.
remember like the next morning there was like an order. And
Hmm.
I still, of course, remember that order email. I still remember my second order email. I still remember these customers' names. Like the first 15 customers, I remember everyone's names and what they bought. And it was just like remarkable feeling, right? And what was so cool, it was like this double feeling, this feeling of like, okay, amazing. someone just bought a ring from us. That's great. And this other feeling of like, wow, like people are going to get clean water from this. Like this, it was this really cool feeling. So yeah, so we started off by not selling the most expensive products. And then the third thing we did was we did not make anything until the customer ordered it. So on our shipping timelines, it said straight up like, this is going to take about 3 weeks to be
Mm.
delivered because 2.5 weeks of that was going to go into making the item. And luckily with our product, engagement rings, wedding rings, generally those are not like impulse buys. So generally people do start looking, they don't need like 2-day delivery. So fortunately for our product line, like that worked. Like people were okay with 3 weeks because their wedding wasn't for 2 months. So it
Yeah.
worked for us. So we would get the money, we could pay the supplier to make the product. And because of that, it wasn't like a very capital intense process because we weren't doing any inventory at all.
And I mean, I'm assuming that there are competitors who are doing similar things, who are selling, lab
Mhm.
created diamonds in ring
For sure.
format and jewelry and so forth. So
Hmm.
what really is the differentiating
Sure.
factor? Does it really just come down to marketing, branding, and as you said, you're providing the great customer experience? Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
what I
No.
mean, what differentiates your uh, product or business from
Yeah. Great question.
anyone else who's
So,
doing? Yeah.
yeah. So there definitely are other companies like that that exist now. I would say there's two things. One, this isn't just to do with any engagement company, but per product sold. No, I'm not talking like total because we're still a small company, but per product sold, Do Amore has the largest social impact of any company in the world.
Okay.
So, giving someone access to clean water with a single product being sold and changing that person's life forever, that's the largest social impact of any company in the world per product sold. And then secondly, I would also say like, yes, we have like the cleanest supply chain of any engagement company in the world as well. And I think like, so for us, I think what stands out about us is just the fact that we exist not to make money. Like we exist in this world to improve the world and to help the world and to make sure that that person's once in a lifetime purchase of an engagement ring or wedding ring is going to make massive difference to someone.
Hmm.
So I think like that's what shows through. I think there are definitely other companies now that are doing lab diamonds, a lot of them actually, which is great. But I think like for us, I think it's just what's different is like that's the reason we exist. So it's like a little bit more of a brand type experience rather than you know, just like buying a lab diamond from anywhere. Um, and even within there are some companies that also are looking at recycled metal and stuff, which we embrace. Like we actually had a competitor call us like a year ago, actually right before Christmas last year. Yeah, so a year ago almost exactly. And they were just like, hey, like, how do we do recycled gold? We have a customer wanting recycled gold. We saw you offer it. Like we literally emailed them our supplier's name. We're like, hey, get recycled gold from here, right? Like we're here to try to improve jewelry industry for everyone. So I think like some customers just really like that. Secondly, like for me, it's always been this thing like being ethical should not cost more. Um, and gold is gold, like whether it's recycled or whether it's freshly mined, like there's not a difference in price. And
Hmm.
so like like for that reason, like I've always like tried to make sure that our products are extremely competitive. And just because we have like more strict supply chain, like it shouldn't be a cost added thing. It should cost the same as any place. So we're very competitive on pricing. I think that customer service thing I mentioned at the beginning, that has stayed with our team. I think when people give us a call or email us, I truly believe that they'll probably have one of the best customer experiences they've ever had that entire year of
Hmm.
anything they've purchased. So I think these are the things that kind of matter. And we're a small company. We're a team of 7 people. And so I think like having this small team has really helped because people are constantly learning from me and I'm constantly learning from them. And all of these things that really make up Do Amore, like it's in every single one of our team members. Every single one of our team members is here because they want to improve the world. And yeah, so I would say that's what sets us apart.
Do you think that any entrepreneur who's trying to create a business, right? So, I mean, diamonds and rings, they're very traditional. I mean, this is not a new business. but
Hmm.
your angle really is the social responsibility aspect of it, right? Do
Yeah.
you, in your experience now, do you think that an entrepreneur who's trying to start a new business, not in the same category, but just taking an existing category and kind of, you know, creating an angle on that, do you think by having a social responsibility angle, making a difference in the world, do you think this is a good general strategy in the world that we are
Hmm.
living in today, where people are more conscious of
Yeah.
social responsibility and ethics and
Yeah.
environment and so forth? Do you think that that is a legitimate or a good strategy to kind
Yeah.
of differentiate yourself?
Yeah. Great question. I think that I'm gonna almost say I'm not sure, honestly, because I think for us it makes sense because we have this once in a lifetime purchase. Like people do not buy an engagement ring once a year, right? It's a once in a lifetime purchase. A wedding ring is a once in a lifetime purchase. I think like those products have a lot of meaning to a consumer, so it makes a lot of sense. Um, I don't know, and again, we're not charging any more than anyone else. So, and the reason for that is because whatever we spend on making this life-changing impact, like we also have a lot more word of mouth because of that. So it's almost like we spend less on marketing than other jewelry companies. So
Hmm.
that's why we don't have to charge the customer anymore for this. I think that for a while it was like very popular and fashionable to do it. And I think personally that consumers are kind of over it. I don't think like consumers seeing like, oh, this company, if I buy this, t-shirt, this is going to help these. I don't think like that's really that appealing anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and so what I think is important is like to do something that's really close to your heart that will do something. So the reason that like if we were just selling engagement rings that were bringing people water and that was it, I don't think it would
Hmm.
be enough. I don't think we would
Hmm.
be successful. I think why we are successful is because we're constantly thinking about quality. We're constantly thinking about designs and most aesthetic designs. We're constantly thinking about comfort and customer service and all these things. Like I believe like even without our social mission, we would probably still be existing. We could still
Hmm.
be successful. But having our social mission is what like energized me and energized our team to do the best we can. And we also have the fact that it's like this once in a lifetime purchase, which matters. So I would almost say not necessarily needed anymore, but I do think like consumers can see through like true desire for a
Hmm.
brand that's trying to improve the world versus a brand that's just doing it for marketing. So
Yeah.
like that's like one thing we did this year. Like we don't actually like we don't really write like how are, that we're ethical and we're the most ethical. Like we don't really write that in many places anymore. We don't
Hmm.
really talk about it. And instead, like on all of our products, customers can like just click on a little arrow and they'll be like, oh, this ring was made here. Oh, cool. This gold is recycled here. Like they can just see it if they want to see it. They can like
Hmm.
click on a few things and they can see the sourcing, but we're not like openly advertising it or stating it anymore because I just feel like it's like hard for consumers to believe when every single company is claiming that they're this, and this now. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I think is going to be the tough thing for 2024.
Yeah, I think a lot of this has become marketing, and
Yeah,
it's like just like
100%.
wordplay.
100%.
Um,
And like I think even on Shark Tank, like Mark Cuban said that same thing to me. Like anyone can do what you're doing. And I was like, and I just like disagreed, like, no, I don't think so. They, it's a 15-minute, I was out there for 50 minutes. They cut it down into an 8-minute show. But like me and Mark talked a lot about this, discussing this. And I think I felt very confident in telling him that, consumers can tell the difference between a brand that actually is to do good in the world versus a brand that's just trying to market themselves as good. I think consumers can tell the difference these days, especially.
for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of Shark Tank,
Yeah.
I mean, when you went into Shark Tank, I mean, your numbers looked pretty decent to begin
Yeah.
with. So what
Sure.
was your kind of motivation? Like, did
Yeah.
you apply? Did they kind of contact you? And
Yeah.
um,
Good question.
what was it, mostly marketing or?
Sure. Good question. So I think when I originally applied, it was um not for that reason. It was because I wanted to have, an expert, an advisor that can grow a business like we've seen all of the sharks do. And I had tried for a few years, and I think I'd kind of given up because I had always gotten like pretty far in the process, but at the end I would get cut, and it's like an extremely competitive process, like massively competitive. Like I don't know exactly, but probably I want to say like 100 times harder than getting into Harvard or MIT. Like I think if those are like a 10% success rate, these are like a tenth of a percent success rate. Very,
Mm,
very challenging. Um, so I think after a few tries, I had just given up. And then something in me, I think, was just like, hey, I got to give it one more shot. And it worked out that time. And I think the reason for me wanting to go on to Shark Tank was two reasons. One, I wanted and yeah, the mentorship aspect is still there. I wanted a mentor that could help us, grow this business to be as big as it can be, because I still believe Do Amore can be one of the largest jewelry companies in the world.
mm,
um and then the second thing was, even though we might not be as small as like some of the companies on Shark Tank, for what my goals are, we're like still minuscule.
mm,
So I still feel like it was the right thing to do, because again, I want to go up against the largest jewelers in the world that have been around for, a decade, a century, and so on. So because of that, I still think it was the right move to make. Saying that, like, I understand we're not a company that has, a few $100s like some Shark Tank companies, but for what I want to do, it was the right move. Yeah.
In terms of your marketing, I mean, you talked a little bit about it, but what is working right now in terms of as you said, I
Yeah.
mean, it's like a one in a lifetime kind of a purchase. So there
Mhm.
isn't really a funnel where, you can acquire
Yeah.
a customer and then make the money in the back.
Yeah, yeah. We
What
don't
what
really
is
have a lifetime value
yeah,
associated. Sure. Yeah.
what is working in terms of customer acquisition? Like, do you do a lot of paid ads, and does that, I mean, it is I would assume it's a multi-touch point kind of a purchase
Mhm.
because,
Oh,
people are
yeah.
doing research and so forth. So,
Yeah, it's a massive purchase cycle, extremely lengthy. In fact, it makes marketing hard because a lot of times the cookies will expire by the time the customer will purchase, right? So it's a very, very lengthy customer journey. I think what's working for us, and of course we can always even do better, but I think what's working for us is um, really like focusing in on what the customer who's buying an engagement ring probably cares about. And there's probably five things. One is like, how do I know the ring is going to be good quality? Two is like, how do I know that the ring is going to be like affordable? And number three is like, how do I make sure I'm not getting ripped off? Which is like
mm,
a big thing with
mm,
within jewelry, as you can imagine. And then we add in this fourth thing, like how do we make sure the ring can be ethical? Now, not every consumer across the globe cares about that, but a lot do. So we're trying to work with the ones that do care about that. And then the fifth thing is, how do I make sure that like I'm going to be covered in case the ring doesn't fit her or
mm,
something goes wrong with the ring? So like
mm,
we really try in our marketing to talk about all five of those things.
mm,
That fifth one is really important because like we want to make sure that the customer is going to be wearing this ring the rest of their life. We want to make sure that like they can wear the ring the rest of their life. So like a lot of companies will have like free resizing, and then you read the fine print. It's like free resizing only for like the first 2 weeks or 30 days. So like
mm,
we're like, no, like let's do free resizing for like a year. And then we're like, no, no, scratch out a year, do it for life. So like we do free resizing for life, like for the rest of the life of the ring. Like, and I think mentioning this to customers through marketing is important. And when I say marketing, I don't just mean paid ads. I mean, just even on organic social, even on customer service emails, just like making sure customers know that. So that's what I would say our five focal points are.
awesome. Um, I was going to, a question came to my mind when you were talking about it. I completely skipped.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, um, what the, so you, okay, so you talked about your team. I guess one curiosity that I have, of course, you have
Yeah.
an engineering background,
Mhm.
and now you're in business. Um, did you always want to be in business, or,
Yeah,
how
good
did
question.
that transition
Yeah,
occur?
no, not
Are
at
you are
all.
you satisfied that you're not in engineering profession?
Good question. What's cool about doing engagement rings, wedding rings, and like caring so much about quality and caring so much about comfort is like I actually feel like there's a lot of engineering in it, which is really awesome. But and then even like in the water projects, even though we're not, like I like love talking to our partners about the water drilling and how it's working. So it is really fulfilling in that sense. But no, like I always thought I was going to become an engineer. I was going to go work at a company. After a few years, I'm going to go get an MBA and I'm just going to stay at that company. I'm going to climb up the ladder and one day I'm going to become an executive at a company. Like that was always what I thought. It was always like a goal to, become a C-suite member, a CEO or something at a long-term company like Procter and Gamble or something. That was always
Hmm.
the dream. So no, this was not the plan, but I think at some point there was just so much like passion and momentum in my head that like this was just something I had to do. And I'm glad I did. Like, we've brought over 21,000 people access to clean water now. And what's like very fulfilling is like if Do Amore didn't exist and those customers could not come and purchase from Do Amore, that would be 21,000 people less in the world without water. That'd be many, many communities around the country. Sorry, there would be many, many communities around the world that just wouldn't have water and they would still be, using dirty water. And like I think like keeping that in mind is just really, really truly great for us. Yeah.
I remember what I was going to ask you as you were talking
Yeah,
about, the fitting and siding and those kind of things. Like, do you think about more of a retail experience, like opening retail stores in like big cities?
good
Because,
question.
of course, that gives people opportunity to try things out. And
Sure. Yeah, I think transparently for like what we want to do, which is to allow people from all over the world, use these special milestones like an engagement, a wedding, anniversary to make change in the world. I don't think we can do it like one store at a time. I think we have to just continue to embrace digital. Um, Now, what we are trying to do is make it easier for people to shop digitally and, always looking into different augmented reality, different technologies we can do to make it easy as possible. But I don't think we've embraced the store concept yet because I think going store to store to store will be just too time consuming. And um, when we can grow faster this way. Yeah,
in
and
every
one
entrepreneur,
last thing about that, Sushant, is like this price thing really does matter. Like we really want to make sure that people are not paying extra
yeah,
to shop at Do Amore to make a difference. And I think going the retail route, it requires a little bit more of that.
yeah,
It really requires a lot more of that capital expense, which ends up meaning a more expensive product. So by
yeah.
being online only, it just allows us to be very competitive.
I think that's a very important point
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
In every entrepreneur's journey, there's always mistakes made, lessons learned, failures.
Mhm.
What has been, I'm sure, there were times or circumstances where you
Sure.
felt, there was some failure or, you could have done some
Hmm.
without something or there was a lesson learned.
Yeah.
What is like one or, a big lesson that you learned and that other entrepreneurs can benefit from?
Yeah, for sure. I think a few things. One, like I think like early on, we had a few manufacturing partners which were, really great, but they always said no to everything. Like anytime we had a question, like a customization, anything, the answer was always no.
Hmm.
But we kept working with them because like, well, you know what, they're one of the best, one of the best. And but what happened is like we started having to say no to customers.
Hmm.
And it just became like this cultural thing, which I didn't like. It's kind of like, do you know how like I always hear this thing, like when you're growing up, like you are going to become your a mixture of your closest five friends.
Yeah.
Like your closest five friends is who you're going to become. And I think that's how it is for business. Like you will become your closest five suppliers or vendors or manufacturers.
Hmm.
And once we had these one or two manufacturers that were constantly saying no, it started becoming part of our identity as we started saying no. So when we realized that, we quickly like made shifts and we did things to be with people that say yes and to be with people that care about our customers as much as we do. And that like really made a shift. So I would say that like even your manufacturer, even your vendor, your supplier, whoever it is, there has to be like a cultural connection. When I say culture, I don't mean like I mean culture in terms of like values.
Hmm.
There has to be like that connection. Otherwise, it'll end up hurting you in the long run. So that was something like very key to me. And like even now, like it really does matter. And it's like the same thing with a customer. Like if a customer is only coming to us because they want something as fast as possible because they want to propose tomorrow, we will see what we can do, but like we're probably not the right fit. Like if they don't care about the ethics, they don't care about the impacts, and all they care about is getting something tomorrow, we're probably not the right cultural fit for them. And I think like it works like that with, your own suppliers, vendors, and so on.
Hmm. I mean, I don't know what I would think about a person who like woke up today and was
Yeah,
like, okay, I'm going to propose tomorrow. I need a
yeah.
ring.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's been like one or two instances where it made sense because a customer bought a ring from somewhere and they lost the ring the day before
Hmm.
the proposal. And that like made sense. But yeah, like generally with our purchase, what's great is people do have some planning and things going in for
For sure.
weeks and weeks and
For
weeks.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm going to move on to our rapid fire segment. In this segment, I'm going
Yeah.
to ask you a few quick questions and you have to answer them
Okay.
maybe in a word or two or a sentence. The first
Okay.
one is a book recommendation for entrepreneurs.
Built to sell. Built to sell. Great book.
Okay. An innovative product or idea in current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about.
Ooh, I'm gonna get people won't like this. I'm gonna say the Cybertruck.
Okay. Hey,
Yeah.
it's definitely innovative and yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can shoot through it. So
No, that's true.
yeah. A business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend or a productivity tip.
Trello. I know it's old, but Trello. Yeah.
Trello is a good
Yeah.
piece of software for
Yeah.
sure. Another startup or business that you think is currently doing great things.
There's a company named Sheets Laundry Club. They are making instead of using, soap in your washing machine, you can put sheets in there, and it's a lot more eco-friendly and it washes your clothes really, really well. I like them a lot. They're a Shark Tank company as well.
Well,
Yeah.
a peer entrepreneur or business person whom you look up to or someone who inspires you.
I'm going to say Daniel Lubetsky, founder of Kind Bars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final question. Best business advice that you have ever received or you would give to other entrepreneurs?
I'm going to go back to the book Built to Sell. And I feel like in that book, there's just so much wisdom, but the main concept of the book is you should build a business in order like you're trying to sell it, even if you're not wanting to sell it. But
Hmm.
like everything you do in your business, it should be about preparing it for a sale, for an acquisition. Because when you do that, it becomes extremely efficient. You're profitable, like you do all these things correctly, and you're doing things to make sure you, as an entrepreneur, are focusing on the right things. It's very focused on, the entrepreneur should not be doing everyday tasks
Hmm. Yeah.
because you're never going to get acquired then because people don't want to buy a business that's all about this CEO. Like it needs to exist without the founder. And so the book Built to Sell is just filled with so much wisdom. Even if you're not trying to build a business to sell it, it's an amazing book. It's one of the best books I've ever read. Yeah, Harry Potter and Built to Sell is my favorite two books. Yeah.
Awesome. No,
Yeah.
those are definitely great books.
Yeah.
Well, Krish, those were all the questions that I had. Thank you so much again for joining me today, for sharing your story, for, inspiring a new generation of entrepreneurs, and a little bit about your successes and failures as well. So thank you so much again. If anybody wants to check out your products, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, best is doamore.com, DOAMORE.com. It's like do more with an A between the two words. So yeah, please check us out. And yeah, Sushant, thanks so much, man. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Chris, and I wish you all the very best.
You too, man. Take care.